The Roman Catholics taught that the gospel not only imposes commandments upon man, but that it also comes to us with counsels of perfection. This theory is based upon the rich young ruler. He had obeyed every law. He said, I have done all of them. What did the Lord say? Go sell all you have and give to the poor, that you may have riches in heaven. See? So he had enough to go heaven. That he has done. So if he had sold, then that extra merit would be kept there. That's the extra merit you are buying. So it is based upon that story in Matthew 19:21. The Roman Catholic Church teaches that the young ruler could have performed a work of supererogation and would have performed a work of earning this merit. All the work of supererogation of saints are added to the fund Jesus had opened. So he has opened a savings account. You can contribute some. This fund of merit earned by the supererogation earned by saints are at the disposal of the Pope as the vicar of the Christ Church. People could buy the merit for whatever price the Pope will decide. Interestingly, from time to time he will increase. There's inflation and all those things. So you could buy 2 years worth of freedom from the purgatory for $100, but now it's $1,000 because of the inflation. Everything, it costs more now. Yes. So this arrangement worked great for both the church and the penitent. They found it is easier to buy an indulgence than to undergo penalties. And they preferred paying a sum of money for the soul of the dear ones. The system pleased the church. The sale of indulgences was a great source of income. It kept money flowing to the church. When it was found out that the Roman church needed money to be flowing to its coffers, they would issue more and more indulgences. They will print more and more, Every pope has the right to issue indulgences. The Roman Catholics raised the price of the indulgences. Sometime more and more popes would issue new indulgences. As the indulgences business grew, abuses also increased. Definitely. Tetzel, this is a name, a Dominican friar. He was a high-pitched salesman in these indulgences. He was selling indulgences in Germany. He used flattery and cunningness for sale. He will stand on a high, stool and he will tell people, the moment you hear your money drop in the box, the soul of your mother will jump out of purgatory. Isn't that great? Yes, the moment you hear the noise of the money, dropping in the box, the soul of your mother will jump out of purgatory. So why are you keeping your money? Bring it, buy it. That's what. So people were bringing in money, for my mother 50, for my dad 50, for my uncle 500. I had a bad uncle maybe for 10,000. Yeah. Even now also they do it, kind of, and they don't. There were 2 brothers. They both were really rowdies. And one died, of his evils. And the older brother died. The younger brother had a desire that, at the funeral, the priest should say a good word about this man. So he went into the priest and said that, my brother was real bad and I'm bad. I want you to say in the message that this man was a good man. For saying that, I'm going to give you 5,000 rupees. The priest thought, I'll say it. So he took the 5,000 rupees. So, when the funeral service came, he promised. So he spoke about the younger brother. The younger brother is so bad, so nasty, so dirty, but the older man was better than the... Comparing to the younger man, this man was a good man. So they have this sort of things even now. You can pay your priest, they will say some good things. Yes, purgatory, he is, at least for the time being, is spared. So Tetzel was a high voice salesman, high volume salesman, and he went out into all Germany selling these things. Yes, it was Tetzel's conduct that made Luther to speak against indulgences. Actually, Reformation started because of this Tetzel. Luther was already upset with many things, but Tetzel kind of cornered him. And now coming to we'll talk more about that one after a few minutes. We say a few things about Luther. Luther was born in Eisleben, Germany on November 10, 1483. His parents were pious people. His father was interested in the mining industry. He made every effort by hard working and by hard saving to educate Martin Luther. His father wanted Martin Luther to be a lawyer. That was his desire. So Martin, after receiving his elementary and high school education, went into the college in Erfurt. From the University of Erfurt, he obtained a master's degree in 1505. His father was very happy on this occasion. In accordance to the wishes of his father, Martin moved to the law school in the same university. Half a year, Martin finished. Martin stopped the legal studies and he enrolled in a monastery to become a monk. That made his father so angry. His father was an outright choleric and a man of determination. He got after Luther and they had problems after problems and arguments after arguments. And Martin inherited the same character from his father. So you can just imagine. Yes. So Martin said, what I decided, I decided. I'm going to be a monk. He wanted Luther, his father wanted Luther to be a lawyer, but Martin was just like his father, a very strong-willed person. In spite of his father's anger and fury, Martin persisted in his way. After 6 months, Martin took the vow. Martin is a monk now. He fully believed at this time that for the rest of his life he will be a monk. But that was changed. Luther now turned to the study of theology. In 1507, Luther was ordained a priest. The following year, he was appointed tutor in the Wittenberg University. While there, he obtained his first degree in theology. After 1 year, Luther was transferred back to Erfurt University. There, he received his second degree in theology. He was appointed to teach theology. At the very young age of 26, Luther occupied an important position in the Roman Catholic Church. While teaching at Erfurt, Luther was sent into Rome as a companion to an older brother of the monastery where he was on a business. Luther visited all the famous shrines in Rome. On his knees, he climbed Scala Santa. You know what Scala Santa is? The steps that Jesus climbed to Pilate's. They have transported that all the way from Jerusalem to Rome. Yes. So you can go to Rome and you can climb the same steps our Lord has climbed. There is a virtue in doing that. Yes. So the stairway is supposed to have been brought to Jerusalem to Rome, and he climbed that on his knees. And Luther was sincere. There is a story that as he was climbing on his knees, the stairway, half the way he heard a voice telling him, "The just shall live by faith." He got up from his knees and walked out. Many people think that Luther's conversion took place right there, but this was not correct. It's only one of those stories that floating around. Luther was saved a year later at Wittenberg in 1512. Moral conditions were really bad in Rome. He was sad and shocked by what he saw in Rome and he went there. Pope and cardinals were living in luxury and immorality. Many of them were having even concubines. He returned from Rome as a sad person, but still loyal to the Catholic Church. Soon after his return, Luther made Wittenberg his permanent home. He lectured on Bible at the University of Wittenberg He also preached in the church there. The degree Doctor of Theology was conferred on Luther by the university. From 1512 to 1517, Luther lectured and studied theology. Luther went through much inner conflict. He was deeply religious. He was greatly concerned about the salvation of his soul. According to the popular teaching of the Roman Catholic Church, he came to the conclusion that to save his soul, he needs to flee from this world. So he began to live a very strict, austere life. He lived a strict ascetic. He did whatever good works he could do. He prayed, he fasted, he chastised his body and soul severely. He wasted away his body. Luther was all bone and skin. Even in severest winter cold of Germany, he would sleep on a floor without blanket or any heat, on the concrete floor. He will keep awake all night, would sleep a couple of hours on a mat. He was oppressed by a sense of sinfulness. Oppressed by a sense of sinfulness. He often would suffer depression. How hard he tried to pacify his soul, it became harder and harder. He sang the songs of Bernard of Clairvaux and found some comfort. Once the head of the Augustinian monastery, his name was Johann von Staupitz. He knew Luther as a young boy, as a young man. He visited that. He was a head of the Augustinian order. So he was visiting the particular monastery where he was. So he saw Luther, only skin and bone. He called Luther here, said, "Martin, come here, what's wrong with you? You got tuberculosis or something?" He said, "No, Father, I ache in my soul. I have no peace. I need to find salvation for my soul. So I'm doing penance. I starve. I chastise my body." So this man, John Staupitz, told Martin, "You are an intelligent student of theology. Haven't you read the Bible? Salvation comes by grace, by faith, not by works. You go, take your Greek Bible and start reading Romans. You will find the truth." So Luther got up, he went into the library, he got the Erasmus Greek Bible, he started reading. He didn't go far. Started with Romans, came to the 17th word, "The just shall live by faith. The just shall live by faith." He read it again and again and again, "The just shall live by faith." It is said that he wrote in the margin, "The just shall live only by faith." Or my righteous. Then as he read further, man is justified by grace, by faith. So that's where his salvation came. Martin's salvation is not by works. All your good works and fasting and chastisement of your body and soul won't bring any salvation, John Staupitz told. Yes, he believed it. He rushed to the Wittenberg library, took the Greek text of Erasmus. He started reading and came to John 1:17. So, he knelt down, he said that he rushed back to his cell after finding this verse, knelt down there, he confessed his sins and he accepted the Lord. And his burden was gone. Luther was a new man. The peace of mind. God has forgiven him his sins. He is reconciled to God. That's the moment Luther was converted. Isn't that amazing? It was the end of the year 1512. He got saved. Luther wrote to Pope about his conversion. He wrote, "I often endured an agony so hellish in violence that if those spells had lasted a minute more, I must have died and won't be here." Don't stop, it came the right time. Yes. I don't know what Pope understood from it. I don't know even Pope read it. Sometimes, these people their secretaries will open all these letters and look at it, and only worthy ones will be passed over to the table of Pope. So I don't know. But anyway, he wrote. And Tetzel was, coming back to the story, Tetzel was selling indulgences in Wittenberg this time. Luther was a sage person. He knew that indulgences are to cheat people and to make money. But Tetzel was high volume salesman, He had authorization from the Pope. Luther now spoke out against Tetzel's business. He questioned publicly Tetzel. He challenged him to show from the Bible that forgiveness of sin could be purchased for money. Luther saw how his sheep at Wittenberg were sold for money. No, he did not allow it. He said, no, in Germany you cannot sell it. The Luther wanted to stop, Tetzel, and Tetzel wanted to stop Luther. Luther had many conflicts with Tetzel, and his team. Luther was powerful in his opposition, for he had the Bible to support him. Tetzel was angry. He reported to Pope telling him that a young monk called Martin is opposing the sale of indulgences. Pope did not take it seriously. He brushed it aside and said, oh, that's a young man. He will cool down. Yes, you go ahead and sell it. Ignore him. Luther went into his room, took out pen and paper and wrote down the famous 95 theses against indulgences. Then, around noon on the 31st day of October 1570, Luther went out to the Wittenberg church and nailed it on the front door, main door of the church, the 95 theses, and he rang the bell. People, when you ring the bell, people know something emergency, so they all ran and came. Yes, people came and they have just read it, they were copying it, and they were translating it, sending it all over Europe, and the word has gone out. The act of Luther was not the Reformation. This act of Luther was not the Reformation, but it led to the first serious act that led to the Reformation. Luther at this time was not an obscure man or unknown monk. No. He was 34 years old now. He has experienced and accomplished more than all his contemporaries. He already lived in Magdeburg, Eisenach, Erfurt, gone to Cologne, Leipzig, crossed the Alps to travel to Rome. He has traveled and he met people. He had met a lot of people and lot of different kinds of people. At Rome he met Pope Julius II. He read great scholars. Wherever he taught, he preached. He was acclaimed as a great scholar. Luther at this time was a monk, a teacher, a professor, a priest, and a good Roman Catholic. When Luther nailed his 95 theses on the door, he was not doing anything revolutionary. That was the practice that if anybody wanted to say anything to all the people, they will bring it and put it just like today, notice board. Just put it there. So when Luther nailed the 95 theses, we could reasonably understand as to what the great responsibility, it brought upon him. He did not know that he was starting Reformation. Actually, very few people stood with Luther at this time. People who were tired of Rome as they were collecting money. The Prince Frederick of Germany was against Pope because Pope will send letters to him. By next 15th you have to send 50,000 francs. And he was tired. He didn't know what to do. He cannot oppose the Pope because the Pope will ask France or Italy to send their army against Germany. So, he was tired. He didn't want to ask people to contribute more money because he knew, he loved his people. They are poor. They don't have money. So somehow he was looking for a means to oppose Pope. Right then his Luther came up. So people who read the 95 Theses took copies of it and spread it everywhere. The printing press was just invented by Gutenberg, and copies of the 95 Theses was almost the first thing to print in many languages. Elector Frederick, the wise man, the ruler of Saxony, he was a pious Catholic, but as I said, he was tired of Pope. So even he came to, he also read these things and he liked it. He just stated everything. Bible is the basis that there's only one mediator, Jesus Christ. Nothing would be done for the dead people, no penance, no, purgatory and all these things. Every believer is a priest. It is not limited to any one person and this and this and this, and then he has listed things. The day 95 Theses was nailed on the door of the Wittenberg church was All Saints' Day. As was customary on that day, the relics in the castle church was solemnly displayed. People came from far and wide to pay respect to the relics. But how have they done? Yeah. Luther saying that relics are meaningless. So as observed earlier, these 95 Theses was translated into many languages. They were printed and were carried with speed to different places. It is said that in 4 weeks after the publication of the 95 Theses, all Europe had it. It was done in such speed. I think Gutenberg worked overtime, day and night to print it. The sale of indulgences was immediately stopped. The Archbishop of Mainz, who was to receive a share of the proceeds of the sale of indulgences by Tetzel, did not like all these events. He sent a copy of the 95 Theses to Pope Leo in Rome. The Pope at first did not take it seriously. He simply asked the general of the Augustinian monks to advise Luther to keep quiet. Tetzel published a counter thesis by the help of a friend. Mussolini, a Dominican monk and an inquisitor in Rome, wrote a book which severely criticized the conclusions of Luther. John Eck, a professor of theology, answered Luther in a pamphlet. Luther soon published his answers in another pamphlet. Luther's friends did not support Luther in this because the language in that pamphlet was very rough. This made Luther to feel bad. In April 1518, the Augustinian monastery held an annual meeting at Heidelberg. Luther found the opposition much stronger than he expected from his own monastery. However, the discussion was frank and friendly. This made Luther happy. When he returned to Wittenberg from Heidelberg, Luther wrote a general answer to all his opponents. This book is known as Resolutions. It was very, cordially written and was addressed to Pope. Luther defended every one of his points. In these theses, Luther did not attack the indulgences per se, but only the abuse of it. Already Wycliffe and Huss attacked the indulgences. However, the Roman Catholic Church saw the attack of Luther more powerful and far-reaching. By pointing out the evils of the indulgences, Luther laid his hand on the most sensitive area of Roman Catholicism, because the power to forgive sins is what brings money. If that power is taken away, who will pay Roman Catholics? So, they understood that. Yes. Somebody asked Erasmus why Pope is so angry. Pope then gave the order that Luther must be arrested and, then they wanted to burn him. So somebody asked Erasmus, why Pope is so angry against this young, Luther? Erasmus said, Luther touched, the purse of the Pope. He touched the coffers. That's where the money is. Said anybody who touched, the purse of the Pope, they're going to feel it. So Luther basically shook the church. What the 95 Theses did was to loosen the position of the priest and the power to forgive sins. The church was shaken to the foundation. It was. They didn't know what to do. Actually, the whole Europe, part of the Europe went after Luther. The whole Augustinian, there were more than, how many, I don't know, maybe 2,000, 3,000 priests and monks and the nuns, they all came out. They closed down the monastery. And people all over Europe, Germany, many places were becoming Protestants. And it was like a dam was broken and the water was flowing down. Who could stop it? And Rome found very difficult. Kings and princes found very difficult. And people were in hysteria. They were against the church because feudalism, the land was owned by the church. And the church will give the land for cultivation to these farmers. They will take a major portion back. So this was opportunity to grab the land back. So they took the axe and marched to the church, broke down every idol, even cut down the priest, declared them free, It was not all Reformation. Yeah, but it was Reformation, but it was not all. It was not all spiritual Reformation. But Luther, Luther just shook the church. I tell you, from Rome to the end of the earth, the foundation of the Roman Catholic Church was really shaken at 0.7 on the Richter scale. Yes, we'll stop there.